Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is. We're gonna go over real quick something a lot of you guys have been asking about, and that's my keybinds on my Disc Priest. Um, so, real quick, all my keybinds are gonna be mostly be using one through 5, as well as the F1 through F12. And the F1 through F12 is because I am using the Corsair Scimitar, which has 12 buttons on it, right? I also, using click, also use my left click, my right click, middle mouse button, and my mouse button 4 and mouse button 5, which is the two buttons below the mouse wheel. So, real quick, my 1 through 5 is going to be whatever my mouse pad or mouse number 5 is my main damaging abilities, mainly because this is what's probably the most important for your ramps, right? So 5 is going to be my schism because it's the longest cooldown out of all of them. So that's right here, 5. It's the longest cooldown out of all of them. 5 can sometimes be a little bit out of the wave to reach at or whatever. But 5 will be my schism. 1 is Purge of the Wicked because in all reality, you should try to have your Purge of the Wicked up, or Shadow Word Death, or not Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain, be up almost 100% of the time, right? So that's going to always be there, right? Next is going to be Penance as number 2. I'm using this a lot, especially in raids where you're using this almost on cooldown, or should be using it on cooldown almost. 3 is Smite because 3 is probably like the easiest button for me to press, and it's the core of like the entire thing, right? If you're not doing anything else, you're casting Smite. Next is Mind Blast. Mind Blast is only used during your Schism windows. It's a pretty mana hungry thing to use. So something like Automatic Jack and that kind of stuff, right? They don't use Mind Blast a lot, especially in raids, because we are so mana hungry. So using Mind Blast less helps to mitigate some of that. You don't want to be using Mind Blast on cooldown. You want to be using it really just during your ramps, and even then, you really want to save it just for your big ramps because for how much mana it uses as compared to your other damaging abilities. It's as much as a power word shield. It's pretty insane, right? And then power word salts. All of those things are on my 1 through 5 or on mouse button 5, and does not interact with my unit frames. Next, on my Scimitar, not including what goes to my unit frames, I have my 1 through 12. So my 1 here is always going to be my Angelic Feather. I'm almost always going Angelic Feather. There's no real reason to go with the only reason you go with Masochism is if you really need that damage reduction for, and because you're not getting hit directly. You only really need that if you're pushing really high keys. But even then, 8 times out of 10, it's more about dodging mechanics. And I can't tell you how many times an Angelic Feather has helped me. The next thing, so 2, if you want to go, so we're going to go up in the grid pattern, right? So 2 is usually like it's one of my wild card keybinds. For this one, it's my Mind Games. I use it during my ramp, but it's a 45-second cooldown, so I only use it during my one big ramp for Spirit Shell every time. So I have that as, I kind of have like a rotation, right, of what I'm doing, and for me, it just flows really well. Dump 3 or F3 or the 3 key on my Scimitar. That is my power barrier. It's my major cooldown. I always have one of my major cooldowns on 3, because it's super easy to hit. It's, for me, it's got impact, right? And 3 that's just where I'm used to using it, right? So 3 is my power barrier where I just pop that puppy on the ground and hope people stand in it, and if they don't, hope you don't like your DR. Next, right next to 3 is numpad is F6. I have that as Rapture. I have Rapture bound on F6 in click as well. This is not really needed. I have this more as just like a failsafe, right? So if I click on my unit frame, right? If I do F6, if I do F6, it will cast it. And if I cast it in F6 on my actual unit frames instead of just my player it will work, as well as if I were to cast it like out here. This is honestly mainly just because if I want to target my Rapture, I want to be able to do it. If I want to just pop Rapture just for the hell of it, I want to be able to do it, right? So that's why I have that double bound in click and outside of click. Is really just for convenience for me. Next is 9. So 9 is my Shadow Fiend. I have it next to Rapture because Rapture actually turns into Spirit Shell as well. And so Spirit Shell, I don't have bound to someone. So that's another reason why it's on 6 is because 6 is right next to 9 on the Scimitar. So doing that will allow me to just poop, pop both of them. I don't have a macro to combine Spirit Shell and Mindbender together because I don't always run Mindbender with Spirit Shell. Sometimes I like working with Solace better because I get mana back more. And sometimes it just feels clunky. Sometimes I'll lose like half a GCD or something if I press both and that kind of thing. But anyways, so my Shadow Fiend is gonna be right next to it, and my F12 here is usually Evangelism. However, since Spirit Shell is the name of the game when it comes to rating, it's really just a dead key right now for me. I don't use it for anything as far as this one goes, or in any of my click. It's also a harder button to get to sometimes. So F12 is one of those I don't really use all that much. We're going through F2. F5 is usually going to be my AoE. So F5 is Halo. However, I don't really use Halo a whole lot in Raid. I've been doing Purge of the Wicked, mainly because Purge lasts longer than Shadow Word Pain. So for me, I have an easier time keeping Purge of the Wicked up than I do Shadow Word Pain. It's just something I'm used to at this point. It's something I need to do better at, right? Because Halo is better for single target fights. But I've just found to be doing better by using Purge of the Wicked than Halo. Next is F8 and F11. So that's in the middle of the Scimitar. Both of those are pretty much wild cards. F11 is more of like a personal CD for me. I have F8 currently as my healing pot. It's something I've been trying to use more of. So that's where I have that as far as the action bars. In click, I have F5 as Leap of Faith, so I can pull someone to me. That's really handy. I also need to make a mouse over macro for it, but I haven't really made one yet. Because that will definitely save people. I can just click on them instead of clicking on a unit frame, remembering who the hell they are. But that is one thing that to make sure I really have keybound is Leap of Faith, because I can't tell you how many times I've saved someone, especially in Plaguefall from the tentacles. Leap of Faith really helps them out. Or tanking a tank when they're kiting. Pairing that with Shining Force, you can really get a lot of use out of it, and you can have your tank kite for, especially in somewhere like Halls of Atonement, where the Gorgons just hit like a freaking truck. You can use Shining Force. You can use your Leap of Faith, and that's gonna really help your tank just like continuously kite, and really just give them more breathing room. So anyway, so those two are usually like a personal CD kind of thing. Like I said, F1 is usually my movement speed. F4 is my Mass Dispel. This is something that you're going to use constantly, especially in Mythic Plus. There's a lot of debuffs, magic debuffs that goes out, so it's really nice to be able to have it keybound, easily used, just freaking, pop it, Mass Dispel, boom, right? Next is Shining Force. That's your knockback ability that you see in here. I also have it bound in here to F11, but I don't really use it all that often, honestly. So I don't use it. I don't use Shining Force on a person. I usually just use it around myself. I position myself because I know it's easier for me to do that. So I position it around myself, just self-cast it, easy day. Then I have Scream. I don't really use Scream all that often, so I could probably change this keybind to something else that's a little bit more useful. Shift 1, 2, and 3 that you see over here on the right. This is my Door of Shadows, Dispel Magic, and usually I'll do either Mind Soothe or Mind Control. If I go into PvP, I'll put Mind Control in Shift 3. Shift 2 is my Dispel Magic. I got it right. It's my Dispel Magic for if you on a enemy target. This is really helpful, especially in PvP, especially in Mythic Plus. I can't tell you how many times, especially in somewhere like Spires of Ascension, where a target has like the weapons buff or that kind of thing, and you just get rid of it like that. And it's spammable, which honestly is like a huge help. So being able to constantly be able to just like get rid of that debuff as soon as you see it is a huge help. And then Door of Shadows, pretty self-explanatory if you're Venthyr. It's pretty much it when it comes to that. You'll see also to the right, you'll see my shift modified keys for my Scimitar. This is something I actually just started doing myself. I haven't really been big into using shift modifiers until recently. Going from something like a Holy Paladin or that kind of thing into a Disc Priest where I feel like I have like 6 or 7 more abilities than I would as a Holy Paladin. So I needed some extra keybinds, and I wanted an easy way to access them. So I started learning and doing shift modifiers for keys. This is something that a lot of your big players do. I'm not a big player yet, so I probably should have started doing it earlier, but better late than never. So here I have a mount put on there. I have Shadow Word Death as my 4 key. My 1 you'll see here in that corner, right? So the grid is directly in correlation with my Scimitar, 1 through 3, that kind of thing. So my 1 you'll notice is not bound. That's because that's actually my auto run. So if I do Shift F1, that's actually my auto run. So it's just it's something that I'm used to from before, but I've rebounded a few times due to getting a gamepad and that kind of stuff and not liking it all that much. So we did that. I have my Mana Pot on there. I have my Arcane Torrent on there. Also have my Mindseer. Mindseer you actually use quite a bit, especially in AoE environments such as Mythic Plus. You're going to be using Mindseer, especially if you see that everyone's pretty healthy, not a whole lot of damage is coming onto your team. Go ahead and use Mindseer. So anyways, Mindseer is there. I also have my other pot, so Spiritual Clarity. So if I want to sit drink instead of just use a quick pot. So in some of your fights like Sun King or something, I could use that instead. My mount, my Hearthstone, that kind of stuff. I have all that there mainly because I didn't want to have a bunch of empty buttons. So I figured why not have them keybound just so I can do things a little bit faster. So instead of clicking it, I'm just hit a button and get going with my life. Another thing to really have handy with your keybinds is having your Healthstone keybound, just like your pots keybound. This really just helps with having it used. It's very important, especially when you start getting into your raids and stuff. You should be if you have lock cookies, that's what they're usually called, right? Your Healthstones, your lock cookies. You should be using them constantly. You should be using them if you ever start getting low or something. They should be used. Outside of that, guys, that's really all my keybinds and stuff. Inside of Click, you'll see that I have left click and right click bound to my Shadowmen and my Power Word Shield. I use them constantly. You're using Shadowmen constantly in Mythic Plus. It's like half of your freaking healing because Atonement healing heals for so little, unfortunately, right now when it comes to Mythic Plus environment. Power Word Shield I use a lot in raids. So like I said, those 2 keys are just getting murdered all the time, right? Next you'll see Purify on there. It's button 5. You'll see Powered Radiance as my F1. So I have this set to a specific spec. So I have it set to Discipline so that I can actually have it double bound. So my Holy set is going to be different than my Discipline set, obviously, because you have different spells for each, right? So my Powered Radiance is for F1. I use that very often. I also have my Pain Suppression as F3. That's because that is a personal cooldown that you use on someone. So it's your heaviest DR, 40% DR on someone. It's freaking massive. So I always make sure to have that keybound consistently. Next, I have Penance on there. I've been using Penance a lot more on tanks, especially in higher Mythic Plus. Tanks just get trucked, unfortunately, right now. And especially when I'm running the legendary Penitent one. When you cast Radiance, sometimes you get like a really nice juicy penance. If your tank is just getting trucked, that's 6 bolts instead of 3 that go into your tank, and it's massive healing. It's almost like a lay on hands without being a lay on hands, right? Also have Rapture on there, like I mentioned earlier. I have Shadow Covenant on there, mainly in case I actually use it. I haven't been using it often lately because Sins of the Many just performs better. Unfortunately, the downside of Shadow Covenant is it sticks you to only being able to use shadow abilities. Shadowman does get a buff out of this. However, you really just get more out of it because of your atonements and that kind of stuff. You get a little bit more out of it just using Sins of the Many. And then obviously you see Levitate and that kind of stuff. That's all there. So that's really my keybinds for my entire Disc Priest setup. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and check me out on my Twitch page, twitch.tv/wakemylight. If you guys have anything else, if you guys have any video suggestions, please let me know. I'm always open to doing some more videos. I know a lot of y'all have been asking me to do more Disc Priest videos, so here it is. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you liked this video or if you did not like it, anything you would change. And I will see y'all later.